Welcome to The Explainer. You know that package that shows up on your doorstep? That's not just a box. It's the finish line of a brutal, brutal business war. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the wild world of e-commerce to show you how a single strategic choice can make or break a company, build a billion-dollar empire, and pretty much change an entire industry.
All right, so here's what we're going to break down today. We're going to start with a coffee shop mystery, then we'll uncover the 2 basic ways companies sell stuff. From there, we'll watch an e-commerce giant make a massive pivot, see the wild financial results of that choice, and finally take a look at a brand new war that's just kicking off. Let's get into it.
So to get our heads around this huge multi-billion-dollar e-commerce battle, we're actually going to start somewhere you'd probably never expect. The super competitive Korean coffee market. Because how a simple cup of coffee gets sold holds the key to this entire story.
So think about it. If you're walking around Seoul, you are going to see coffee shops like Iria or Mega Coffee on like every single corner. They have way more stores than Starbucks. And yet, when you look at the financial reports, Starbucks is bringing in way more money. How is that even possible? It doesn't seem to add up, right?
And we are not talking about a small difference here. It's absolutely massive. Starbucks Korea is pulling in over 2 trillion won in revenue. For comparison, a huge chain like Mega Coffee reported around 80 billion. This has nothing to do with who has better coffee. It's all about how they count the money.
Okay, so the secret to this whole mystery, it all comes down to 2 totally different ways of selling something. And honestly, once you get this, you're going to start seeing the business world in a whole new light.
All right, here's the deal. Starbucks runs its own show. It owns the stores, it buys the beans, it pays the baristas, and it sells you the coffee directly. So every single penny you pay gets counted as Starbucks revenue. But Mega Coffee, it's a franchise. They're basically a middleman. They just provide the brand and the supplies to a store owner. So the company itself only gets a small fee, and only that little fee gets counted as its revenue.
And you can see exactly how this works right here. In the direct model, you get this huge revenue number, but you also have huge costs, for the actual coffee. In the commission model, the revenue looks tiny, but almost all of it is profit, because they aren't paying for the coffee itself. This right here, this is the exact choice that defines the whole e-commerce war.
Okay, so now that we've got that down, let's take this idea and jump right into the big leagues, the billion-dollar fight for online shopping. This is where a company called Coupang decided to make a massive bet on one of these models.
So to put it really simply, Coupang became the Starbucks of Korean e-commerce. They went with that direct sales model. And its rivals, companies like Timon and We Make Price, they were the Mega Coffee. They stuck with being the commission-based platforms.
But here's the twist. Coupang didn't start out this way. It began as a commission-based site, just like its rivals. Then it made an incredibly risky pivot. By launching Rocket Delivery, it switched its entire business model. That meant building its own warehouses, buying its own products, and creating its own delivery fleet. This one decision literally changed everything.
So what happens when you make a bet that big? Well, the consequences are huge. This split in strategy created 2 totally different financial realities. One company needed a mountain of cash from investors. The other, well, it was basically built on borrowed time.
You see, the commission guys had this really clever trick up their sleeve. When you bought something on their site, they got your money right away, instantly. But they would hold on to it, sometimes for up to 60 days, before they actually paid the merchant who sold the product. This gap created a cash float, a giant interest-free loan from their own sellers, used to fund marketing. It's a brilliant machine, but it has one fatal flaw. It only works if it's constantly growing.
So what happens when that growth engine starts to sputter? This happens. At one point, We Make Price owed its sellers nearly 290 billion won. The cash coming in from new sales just wasn't enough to pay for the old ones. The whole system was breaking down.
And the real-world impact was just devastating. That money owed translated into payment delays of 7 to 8 months. For the thousands of small businesses on the platform, this wasn't just an accounting problem. It was a crisis that could put them completely out of business.
Coupang's path, on the other hand, was the complete opposite. It couldn't use a clever cash flow, The direct model required a staggering amount of cold, hard cash right up front to build a physical empire of warehouses and trucks and to buy every single item it planned to sell.
And boy, did they get it. SoftBank's Vision Fund poured in 2 trillion won. This massive war chest allowed Coupang to intentionally lose money for years, building its physical advantage while its rivals, dependent on their cash flow, were running on fumes.
So, Coupang won. It outspent and outlasted its local rivals to finally become profitable. But just as the dust settled, a new war began, with even bigger giants arriving on the battlefield.
So get this, while Coupang's user growth has kind of flattened out, 2 global giants, AliExpress and Temu, are suddenly exploding onto the scene. They're acquiring customers at a speed that just changes the entire game.
And these new giants are attacking Coupang's model from both sides. For customers, they're offering aggressively low prices, which force Coupang back into losing money this year. For sellers, they're offering faster payments. This two-front attack has investors worried, and the company's hard-won success is suddenly looking pretty fragile.
And that leaves us with the critical multi-billion-dollar question, doesn't it? Coupang's strategy of burning billions to build an expensive, capital-intensive moat was brilliant for winning the local war. But is that same moat strong enough to defend against global giants who have even deeper pockets and could afford to burn even more cash for even longer? The battle for Korea's e-commerce crown is far from over.